When I worked at the hospital, I used to man basically a 24-hour hotline. I would do it at the hospital when I was at my office. Everybody had my extension, but everyone also had my home number. Anyone who went through the clinic, and I used to take calls all the time. And, I never really minded when people from clinics would call me who, for follow up, they were having problems or issues or just wanted to call to say hello. That was fine. And those calls were always good. Okay. I had no problem with that. The calls that I had the hardest time with sometimes were I don't want to call them sales calls, but it's when people would call me up and want to, ask about our program. Now, it was fine if people were calling about the date and, they wanted to know when to come into a clinic and, when the next one was available and they were all ready to go. But sometimes I'd get people in who, on the phone, who I could tell almost wanted me to do a sales pitch for the program. And I was never really, high on pitching the program. I didn't want to force people in. I was on salary, so it didn't make a difference. I didn't make money if people came or not. It really came down to, that I never wanted that to be variable for me, so I had set up always in the jobs that I had. It was basically a straight salary job, from the institution I worked for. So anyway, I would get people calling, and sometimes I could tell that they wanted me to justify why they should come to my program, as opposed to something else. And generally, until the conversation went that direction, I'd spend as much time as the person wanted. If they were asking about the program and what our philosophy was and what we did, that was fine. Those calls were great. But then, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, sometimes in the middle of a 10, 15-minute conversation, about what we do and why, somebody would say, well, what do you think about hypnosis? Or, I'm considering acupuncture. Or, there wasn't that many stuff available at this point in time. So maybe there were a few other programs. They'd say, well, I'm thinking about going to this other program. And as soon as anybody presented with that kind of commentary, that they're considering this, or they're considering that, or they're considering this, it was pretty much the end of the conversation for me. I just didn't have that much more time to put into this conversation. This person is not ready for my program. Bottom line. They weren't ready to come to the clinic. And the reason I say that, if I get anyone coming to the clinic who, in back of their mind, they've got some alternate approach going in their head, well, if this doesn't work, I'm going to do this next. They're wasting their time coming into the clinic. They are. They're wasting their time. They're wasting my time at this point in time. And the reason I say that, sure, they're going to get lots of great information in the clinic. They're going to get wonderful support from me and people around them in the clinic. Sure, they're going to get all that. But as soon as they have a bad moment or a bad situation, they've got this backup plan in their mind. Like, well, if I blow this quit, I'll just go to this easier one next. And as soon as that happens, which is usually going to be pretty quick, but even if it's down the line, these people have basically done this in the wrong order. And as soon as somebody would bring up, they're thinking about this and they're thinking about that, or they're thinking about some other, method, as soon as they would say it, I would say, well, I actually think you should go there first. And I wasn't going to do any arm twisting now to get them not to do that. I was serious. I wanted them to do everything imaginable before they came to me in a program. All right, now why? Because if they came to me first, as I said, they were going to have this backup method in the back of their mind. And as soon as things got bad at any point in time, they were going to throw away the quit in all likelihood. With the idea, but, I'll just go to this other thing, it'll be easier. Now, here's where the real dilemma is. They go to the other thing. I knew by all rights the other thing isn't going to work. I wasn't telling them to go there because, I thought they were going to successfully quit smoking. There's a chance, but it's a long shot. But if they came to me first, and now they blow this program because of this backup method in their mind, they go to the other program doesn't work, there's a pretty good chance they're not coming back to my clinic. Why? They tried my clinic already. They know it doesn't work for them. Again, it didn't work because they had the backup plan in mind. And they weren't ready to do what I really said to my participants in the first day of the clinic. They better be willing to put 100% commitment into this. Because you know what? A 99.9% commitment into quitting smoking will fail. Most things in life, a 99.9% commitment, that's a pretty good commitment. But not when it comes to dealing with the drug addiction. A 99.9% commitment is the kind of commitment that allows you to think about a puff. Just only puff. Seems so minimal. Come on, 99% of the time you're sticking with it. You're just gonna, mess with it this fractional percent of a time. That will fail. Just fail. Anyone who has that kind of mentality, I don't care how good the information is, if they're not buying that piece of the information, they're not buying the key component. We have an advantage here in a sense that the Freedom Nicotine site that we have now, that I didn't have with my clinic site. When I was doing the clinics, and I'm not doing clinics anymore. I used to be hesitant about talking about them because I didn't want to make it sound like a sales pitch for the clinic. As I said, I was never a good sales pitch for this program. I didn't want to pitch the clinic. When I was doing the clinics, if people failed, I did allow them to come back in. But in a sense, I think that made it easier for some of those people to fail because they also had that backup plan in mind. Well, if they don't make it this time, they'll just make it next time. That doesn't exist here at Freedom. That is a benefit to everybody who joins up in this group. They hopefully made 100% commitment when they were joining, but they also know they don't have a backup method in mind anymore as far as joining up here as a backup method. They can go join everything else as a backup method. But again, I hope they did that first. Or I hope they considered it first, and if they ruled it out, they understand why they ruled out their other approaches. That they understood the addiction. They understood they were addicts, and they understood they better treat it that way. Well, the way we're set up now, a person takes a puff. Sometimes people think, well, there's not going to be any real consequence to it. They'll get away with it. They take a puff. We find out about it, and anyway, they're out. They're out for life, forever. Sounds cruel. Sounds heartless. It's not. We're doing a favor to everybody who is considering joining. The benefit they had when they joined. We made clear the battle line that is here because of addiction, the battle line that they should have drawn. And it's because they didn't accept that battle line that they lost their ability to ever post here again. And I got to point out that they didn't lose their ability to benefit, to utilize the site. They didn't. They could still come and read and learn and reinforce, recognize what they did wrong, that last time. Yeah, they only did one thing wrong. One concrete thing. They took a puff on a cigarette. They may have done a few other things that were maybe a little bit off, like not reinforcing their desire to stay off, not reinforcing their reason of why they quit, not reinforcing things that they could have done while they still had to quit going. They didn't do that. Now, for people who don't do that, who stay off smoking, okay, they're okay. They didn't smoke. But for anyone who smoked, well, that was probably to their disadvantage that they didn't reinforce. They don't have the ability to post anymore, but they still have the ability to reinforce the way they always had, the way every non-member had, the way people who never, joined the group before, saw the group before, just coming in today, and they're not going to join. They all have that ability to read and learn and get the informational support, which is what is our key. It really is. It's the informational support for you to support your own quit, because that's what's going to make it last. You're supporting your own quit. All the wonderful people supporting you, that's nice. But it's not what makes or breaks a quit. It's what you do with your quit, not what they do with your quit. So we have a battle line drawn here, which is for the benefit of everybody. Members, non-members, ex-members. Understand that battle line, while it seemed arbitrary maybe at one time, it wasn't. It was to have you take your own quit 100% seriously. If you were a member, you lost that quit, and again, you can't be a member, still listen to us this time. Listen. Yes, you can't write on the board. You can write to the management, that's fine. They'll send replies, answer concerns, questions that you have about quitting, that's fine. You've lost the ability to post on the board, but you haven't lost the ability to use this board. So this turned into a message for groups who never had joined before of, if you're thinking about joining up, and you're thinking about other approaches, go do the other approaches. If you believe they're going to work, if you think there's some magic thing out there, okay, there's a magic thing out there, go find out for yourself. If the magic thing works and you're off, hey, you're off smoking. Wonderful. That's great. If the magical thing doesn't work, you'll know we're here. You'll know that this help is available. For people who've done our approach before and lost it, and think maybe there's a magic approach out there, same message. Same message except for one big difference, and if it doesn't work, you can't come back and join up, but you can still come back here and learn. And we hope you do that. We hope you take advantage of the resources that we have. To both groups, to all people hearing this now, if you're going to quit, make it 100% commitment what you're going into. And understand the reason for doing 100% commitment, how important it is. You're fighting for your life. You are fighting for your health. You're fighting for your freedom. Okay? To win those fights and to get those benefits. I'll reverse the order there, your freedom, your health, and again, extending the quality of your life and likely the length of your life. It's a matter of making and sticking to 100% commitment to never take another puff.